So on to Saturday's second Cricket World Cup match between New Zealand and West Indies at Old Trafford. Looks set for an exciting match here, but first, before that, a real shocker at Headingley, Kev, between England and Sri Lanka. I don't think anyone saw this one coming. What are your thoughts on that match?
Well, the tournament needed a shock, didn't it? And we certainly did when we think about our Bangladesh hopes. And that's exactly what we got. I don't know what it is with England and your backyard, but they just do not perform very well there whatsoever. I don't know if it's all you moaning bastards whinging at them as they go past. But there's something about the place that they don't like. I mean, Sri Lanka, the signs possibly were there if we'd looked a bit further afield than ODI cricket, Steve, because Sri Lanka won a test match there the last time they were on these shores, didn't they? I think it's the place that Shea Hope scored 2 centuries.
For that match, yeah. West Indies won.
Yeah, this is not a good venue, so any Australians listening in, you've probably got one in the Ashes, but that's the only one you're going to get, obviously. Don't really know what else to say other than well done, Sri Lanka. They batted like drains, but they bowled fantastically. Very similar to their game against Afghanistan, wasn't it? Didn't put up anywhere near enough runs, but fought like terriers with the ball and a few indifferent shots here and there. And Bob your uncle, they've won by 20 runs. Good thing from our point of view is if Sri Lanka are going to stay competitive in this group stage, Lasith Malinga's locked himself onto the fringes of the top bowler standings, hasn't he? So that's opened another door.
It was a real shock result, and perhaps what the tournament did need in some ways. Interesting indeed. So, onto this game at Old Trafford then. Across the pen lines we go. So, the pitch at Headingley actually played poorly, I thought. It just did not. Someone said on commentary it was too dry, and I think that's what happened, really. They were a bit too worried about... they didn't want to leave too much grass on it, it seemed, for whatever reason. And it went the other way, didn't it? But Old Trafford, this is a batting paradise, usually. I mean, you said to me the other day that this is probably the best batting strip in the whole country now. It certainly rivals Trent Bridge, doesn't it?
Trent Bridge in the Ageas Bowl, yeah, absolutely. Brilliant place to bat. Since they turned the square around, Steve, this has been an absolute run fest in white ball cricket. Fair play to Lancashire. They do it right in white ball cricket, don't they? Having good batting wickets doesn't suit their side because bowling is very much their strength. But they appreciate that people put their backsides on seats to see runs being scored. And that's exactly what they produce in terms of the pitches. I mean, first inning scores so far, I'm not exactly sure of the exact numbers, but we're in the 330 mark for that India game, weren't we? And England touched 400. So chances are we're going to get a high scoring game here, particularly when you think back to the warm-up match between these two a few days prior to this tournament starting, when Bristol was nowhere near big enough for this West Indies side as they piled on 420 odd against this lot.
New Zealand is still unbeaten in this World Cup. Is anyone going to beat them, Kev, at this rate? I mean, they keep getting a few nervous ones, but eventually getting that W on the board.
Well, I mean, it is down to that, isn't it? Is someone going to beat them? Because they're not exactly convincing, are they? Bangladesh would have beaten them had that run out of taken place. And, well, South Africa really only themselves know how they didn't end up defending that total. To be fair, Kane Williams produced a masterclass of the last couple of overs in that run chase. One of the best paced innings you'll ever see. His flick for 4 off the last ball of the penultimate over. Was just amazing. Had that ball have gone for a dot or a single, even Fekler may well have defended 12 or 13. And then, of course, second ball of that final over, clobbered it into the stands. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And on we go. Real classy player. I'm interested to see how he goes here, because West Indies, if we know one thing about this West Indian side, it's they rise to the party when they've got conditions in their favour, and my word, have they got conditions in their favour here.
Yeah, it feels to me like what both of these two batting lineups need. A match at Old Trafford, it's going to be a sunny day. Well, I presume it's going to be a sunny day in Yorkshire, so I think they got it across the whole of the north on Saturday. A good pitch. Both batting lineups could do with a good hit out, and this is a great chance for them. Do you expect them both to fire?
I'm not so sure it's good conditions for New Zealand, because if you think of New Zealand wickets, there's not much pace, not much bounce in their wickets, is there? And that's exactly what they're going to encounter here. plenty of pace. This is the place that Mark Wood bowled the fastest ball in the tournament, closely followed by Jofra Archer against Afghanistan the other day. They were touching 95 mile an hour. That's how quick it is. And these West Indians, there's one or two that are probably quicker than Mark Wood. So there's going to be a bit of pace like fire coming down at them here, a bit of pace, bit of bounce. We're going to find out all about this New Zealand batting lineup in this game, that is for sure. They'll have to have more than just Kane Williams then if they're going to get home. Listen, they're classy enough, aren't they? You've got Martin Guptill, who's played for Lancashire in his career. I've got a funny feeling I remember seeing Jimmy Neesham play there as well. If I've got that wrong and he's only played for Derbyshire, I apologise. But, you know, the New Zealand players, they generally dot themselves around the north, don't they? There's an awful lot of previous New Zealand players that play for Lancashire. The sort of infamous Lou Vincent, one or two others have played up there. So it's kind of a hotbed for Kiwi cricket. The Lancashire League's strong, isn't it? So they bring a lot of players over for that. So they'll know what to expect, but knowing what to expect and encountering it are two different things.
All right, on to some bets for the game then, and we'll start with you with over 59.5 boundaries, Kev. I've also got a bet in this similar market, over 47.5 fours. I mean, the boundaries, that includes sixes as well. So at the end of the day, you think the ropes are going to be peppered in in loads of different ways here?
Yeah, that's the only reason I've gone boundaries over fours. Wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, Steve. I'm just thinking along the lines of if West Indies bat first, you know, there's every chance they're going to hit 10 or 15 sixes in this innings. And maybe to the detriment of fours. And if one or two New Zealand players don't fire, you know, your Guptills or your Taylors, then maybe the boundaries are just a better bet. I mean, yes, it's literally your preference, isn't it? I know all through the tournament you've been nailing these four markets, so I was absolutely not surprised to hear you going with that. Look, it's 30 boundaries each, isn't it? You know, and if teams are putting up 300, 330, 350 in the first innings, you're going to get 30 boundaries, probably going to get a lot more than that. Dread to think how many England actually ended up with against Afghanistan. I should have looked, but I didn't. But if Owen Morgan's hit 17 sixes on his Todd, then England are going to have gone well past 40, aren't they? Any kind of innings like that here, this one's obliterated. Chris Gale hasn't fired yet, has he? I would say this is West Indies' last chance. Sri Lanka have opened the door for them in this tournament, and they need to go and barge it through. Chris Gale is not going to be around after this tournament, so it's his last real chance to fire on an English stage. I've got a funny feeling he's going to take it. I would have taken West Indies to win this match, but I read that Andre Russell's unlikely to play, which has kind of put me off a bit. So I'll just go with the boundaries.
I think both bets will win, to be honest with you. Actually, the other day, the boundaries bet, I think, would have won if he had, whatever the line was there, and fours would not have come in because there was a ridiculous amount of sixes. But it's a bit of a freak innings that's done that, really. New Zealand, I don't think will hit that many sixes, but West Indies probably will, so it balances itself out. Probably, I reckon you're looking at about mid-60 boundaries, probably more. 50-odd fours and probably about a dozen plus sixes. That's the way I see it in this game. So I think both bets pretty solid offerings there. So let's move into player performances. Jason Holder, over 44.5 is one you like here, Kev.
I do, yeah. He played for Northamptonshire at the start of the season, Steve, and it coincided with the 50-over competition. And thankfully, Northamptonshire's game against Lancashire was on this very ground at Old Trafford, and he clubbed 72 or 58. Now, admittedly, that's only against Lancashire's bowling attack, but that was a bowling attack that did contain Jimmy Anderson. And as I've just mentioned, Lancashire's strength is their bowling attack anyway. So we know he could score on this ground. If the West Indies are going to take that advantage that I just mentioned, they're going to need their captain to step up to the plate, aren't they? And this line looks very low for a guy who's going to bat at 6, going to field around the bat, and he's going to bowl his overs. And indeed, when these two last met in an ODI series down in New Zealand at Christmas in 2017, he played all 3 matches, did Holder, and he finished with performance totals of 48, 63 and 54. And he didn't really fire in any of those games. Top score of 34 with the bat, best bowling figures of 2 for 52. So if he fires in either discipline here, he's going to cover this. He's in decent enough nick, isn't he, Holder? He's been more than holding an end up with the bat. You know, he's already got 50 in his tournament against Australia. He's already got 3 for in this tournament against Pakistan. 33 last time out against Bangladesh. Hasn't taken a wicket in his last couple of games, but I think the pace, I think the bounce in this wicket is going to really assist him. New Zealand, as I've just said, don't tend to play bounce particularly well. So I think 45, if Andre Russell doesn't make it, he's going to play an even bigger role, isn't he, Jason Holder? So we'll get you. I think we'll get that covered. That's 888 Sport.
Good cricketer. I like him. I've seen him play live, and he's absolutely mammoth. About 8 foot, it feels like. Yeah, 3-dimensional cricketer. Good catcher as well, the ball. Massive hands. So, yeah, 44.5 doesn't seem an awful lot for a guy like him today. And he actually puts himself up the order, doesn't he? If he feels like it, which is kind of handy. He'll always give you at least 10 overs out there in the middle, potentially, to bat. He doesn't just come in for the last 2 or 3 overs, does he, very often? So, yeah, good one there. And a West Indies batsman line, Nicholas Pooran, very low batting line. This one, I must say, over 23.5 for someone who's in pretty good nick.
Pretty good nick, and unlikely to face Trent Boult with Matt Henry, which is happy days, isn't it? Left-hander, so Mitchell Santner shouldn't have too much of an impact on him. If he's facing De Grandhomme and Jimmy Neesham, he'll probably get these in 1 over. Not really an awful lot to say on this one, Steve. He's been good to us in the tournament already, hasn't he? I don't think we did the podcast of the game, but I backed him to hit a 6 in their last outing against Bangladesh, which he duly did. And I think I backed him earlier in the tournament for something, and he gave us a run for our money, maybe a top batsman, something like that. Scores in the tournament, 34 not out, 40, 63, 25. Any of them's good enough here. He's in decent form. This wicket is perfect. I'm happy to get on.
Yeah, Nicholas Pooran over 23.5 runs. I've got a pick here, which is I'm not staking as much on this one. It's a bit of a left field selection, but the bet is at Betway, and it is New Zealand to score the most runs after 1 over against the West Indies. So whoever has the highest total after 1 over will win this bet. The tie is also in play, so if it's a level, then this bet will lose. But I've noticed that the West Indies are getting off to a very slow starts in games. This is a rundown of their totals after 1 over. On 2 occasions, they've been 0 for 0, so 2 maidens to start the match. Another occasion, they were 2 for 0, and then 7 for 0 against Australia, but that included 5 wides. So they're not. I mean, if you notice Chris Gale especially, he's not just in this World Tournament, but he's happy just to get a sighter for about an over, isn't he, these days? I think he was a bit too long, I thought, against Bangladesh. He was a bit too negative, but there's nothing wrong with getting your eye for 1 over, is there? And even though I'm a bit like you, I think we'll expect something from Gale here. Don't think he's going to go in the first over, though, against Trent Boult. So, I don't think unless there's a streaky edge or something, I don't think they're going to get a high total again. New Zealand, on the other hand, have been going very well. They've got 9, 11, 7 and 10 in their first overs of matches. And that's because Munro's just going after the ball. If he gets strike, he doesn't face the first ball, does he? Guptill does that, but Guptill's been going after it too. I don't know who will be bowling the first over of the West Indies, but there'll probably be something to get after. Certainly if Munro gets on strike, he'll flash the bat in that point region and probably get at least 1 through. So it might only take 1 boundary to beat the West Indies in this market.
It's basically a super over that you're betting on, isn't it, really? Yeah,
it's a bit of a left field punt, and obviously it can be a bit of a lottery, perhaps, but there is plenty of stats here to back this one up. 6-5, you can get on this, so it's an odds against price. I think worth a little bit of a nibble. If it continues the way it's been going, watch Gale just tee off and ball 1 now, but based on what he's done so far, he's going to see it out a bit. But let's have a look. Another bet for you. The last bet for you in this game is in the New Zealand top batsman market, and you're going with Colin de Grandhomme.
Yeah, I mean, if you take Kane Williamson out of the equation, then there isn't really anyone in this New Zealand lineup that's looked really top draw. Ross Taylor did in the earlier matches, but they were both against bowling attacks that have gone the distance since then. So I'm a little less sure about that. And if Kane Williamson fancies running everyone out, as is his will in this tournament so far, it could be left to de Grandholm to come in at 22-1 and knock off a nice little score. He looked very good, didn't he? Under pressure, it must be said, against South Africa. He was the only one who came in. He was scoring it quicker than a run of ball from the off. And in the end, some of those sixes that he hit were the difference. Okay, I know in New Age Baston, being a Warwickshire player for a couple of years, but he'll have definitely played a match or two, even in T20 at Old Trafford for the Bears. He'll know his way around here. He's probably the one New Zealand batsman who doesn't mind a bit of pace and bounce, because he hasn't got a full flow of the bat as he kind of rides the pace. Those hooks that he played the other day, they weren't really full out shots, were they? They were kind of helping it on its way, and they're the ideal shots that he can play here. So he's a big price. I mean, he's going to bat at number 7, but there's half a chance here that we see the West Indies bowling attack that shelled out Australia. And if we do, the door will be open for someone down the order to do something. Just hope no one has got away from him at the top of the order.
No, but if you're betting in running in this game, there's something to watch out for, isn't there? And that is run-outs. I know you nearly had a bet on this market for this game, Kev. Not sure what prevented you in the end on not taking it, but the running between the wickets, especially in New Zealand, is one to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, I've just alluded to it there. Kane Williamson, every single time he plays a shot, he comes 2 or 3 strides down the pitch, ball watches like you would never believe, and then decides that there's no run, by which time his partner's shaking hands with him in the middle and it's all gone tits up. Ross Taylor's no different, and there's every chance that those two are going to back together at some point in this match. If you think back to that Bangladesh game, I mean, that was just absolutely mental. One of them should have been run out when Mushfiqur knocked the stumps over before the ball got there. And if you also think earlier in that game, New Zealand created a run out, didn't they, when they ran out Raheem himself after Shakib sold him down the river. So there's plenty of options of run-outs here. If you think about the West Indies side, Gale doesn't run. So, if someone is batting with him and forgets themselves, they're going to be in trouble. And also a little bit further down the order, Andre Russell, if he does play, I mean, his legs have given up on him, hasn't he? So, if someone fancies a quick 2 or something, they're probably not going to get much change out of him either. So keep an eye on that run-out market in play. It's usually about 25-1 in the next dismissal market. Obviously, don't play for every single partnership, but the ones that involve Kane Williamson, Chris Gale, Ross Taylor, and Andre Russell in particular, it's well worth a little nibble. You're probably only looking at 4 or 5, maybe 6 partnerships at most. So if it lands once in them, you're going to get 4 times your dosh back. If it lands a couple of times, happy days. The only reason I didn't take the market really was because I don't want to overload with bets here, having already overloaded with bets in the other game. But I'm more than happy to have a little nibble at 25-1 as we go along throughout the course of the afternoon.
And there's some good fielders on show who, in terms of hitting the stumps, with some laser arms here, isn't there? And that's another positive to watch out for. So
well, we've mentioned New Zealand's fielding throughout this tournament, haven't we? Probably the best fielding side in the competition. I mean, even West Indies can hit the stumps, can't they? So not beyond the realms of possibility there. Like I say, you usually get 25-1 in that market, and on a pitch like this where wickets are hard to come by, it might be the way that the partnership's broken.
All right, brilliant. Well, that's the end of this podcast then. We'll be back to preview South Africa, Pakistan at Lords on Sunday. So we'll see you for that one, Kev.
Yes, mate. All the best, and see you for Sunday.